This week we're going to highlight the corn balance sheet from last week's USDA Ag Outlook Forum. We're also going to talk about a continued brisk pace of U.S. corn export sales, and then we're going to highlight a delayed planting pace of safrinha corn in Brazil. Hi, this is Brian Basting with Advanced Trading. Let's talk about the corn market. We're nearing the end of February here, and this market is still moving, so let's get right to it. Let's highlight the results of last week's corn balance sheet in the USDA Ag Outlook Forum. Again, this was held last week virtually by the USDA. Moving on now, looking at the corn balance sheet here, we're focusing on the supply side here. The 92 million acres that the USDA forecast is the highest since 2016. The yield would be a record at 179.5, and production would also be a record there at 15 billion bushels, 15,150. Moving on now, we're looking at the usage side. Improved feed residual usage. Notice the ethanol increased 250 million bushels. Now these are just forecasts, of course, but looking at also record corn exports. Moving on now, looking at the bottom line, highlighted there in the green bar, ending stocks would be increased 50 million bushels to 1.552. A lot of numbers here, but let's wrap up and move on here by reminding you this is just one possible scenario here. So many things can happen between now and this spring, much less all the way through next crop year. So here's the message. Change happens and can be very fast. So we strongly encourage you to continue to work closely with your trusted risk management advisor to manage price movement. Let's move on now and highlight the rapid pace of U.S. corn export sales. Now we'll continue to underscore this as the second half of the crop year begins here next week. Looking at the outstanding sales, unshipped sales of U.S. corn here, a record level here, far above any previous level here as we enter the second half of the crop year. 439 million bushels on the books to China moving into the second half of the crop year. Let's highlight total export sales of corn now. The reason this is important, we're looking at 2.305 billion bushels of corn have already been sold. That's nearly 89% of the total forecast for the crop year. Moving on now, what this implies is that maybe, perhaps, corn exports could exceed the USDA. That's an unknown. We could cancel corn export sales too, but it does place tremendous emphasis on the corn crop now growing in Brazil. Let's focus on that corn crop in Brazil by looking at where that corn is produced. We'll continue to underscore this over the next month or so here. We're looking at second season corn production, the key states of Mato Grosso, Goiás, Paraná, and Mato Grosso do Sul. Moving on now, the pace of planting in Mato Grosso is very slow, only 36% done. Notice the average for this time of year, end of February, is 63%. So these rains have really hampered planting progress in Mato Grosso. Moving on now, why is that important? Because the later the corn gets planted, that corn becomes more vulnerable to the dry season, which is shown here in May and June. So, looking at the wrapping up here, notice again that in May and June it falls off quite a bit. Let's look at the short-term forecast now for Mato Grosso and the other states in Brazil. Our slides, as usual, are courtesy of T-Storm Weather. And we're looking at the next 7 to 10 days. Notice a continuation of rainy conditions over that northern and central area of Brazil. A struggle getting that soybean crop harvested and therefore getting the safrinha corn planted. Moving on now, again, re-emphasizing only 36% of that Mato Grosso corn has been planted versus 63% on average. Wrapping up here, the next 14 days, you can see here that it's normal precip. So next week it is supposed to dry out somewhat. So again, next week, the first week in March, it looks like they'll be able to get more of the soybeans harvested and therefore more of the corn planted. Let's wrap things up briefly today looking at December corn futures. Now again, the corn crop insurance period here will end on Friday, February 26th. Notice as we speak here that December corn futures is the highest level now since February of 2013. So we're really looking at some attractive opportunities here relative to recent years. Strongly encourage you to continue to work closely with your trusted risk management advisor though, looking at managing price movement between that February crop insurance period and the October crop insurance period, which are highlighted here. Now, if you'd like more information, please feel free to contact us at 800-664-2321. We'll put you in contact with one of our risk management consultants Be happy to visit with you at your convenience. And remember, we upload every Wednesday. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to never miss an upload. Thanks a lot. Have a good week.